What's happening, guys? First and foremost, I just want to thank all of you guys for watching my content and sharing the videos. Last night I hit 25,000 subscribers, which is pretty darn good considering I only started this channel basically in July. So big shout out to all of you guys. For those of you guys that are new to this channel, every Tuesday and Thursday I do a different tutorial. Tuesdays I do How to Tuesday, where I do a BMX trick, and every Thursday I do Tech Thursday, where we either do a tutorial on how to fix your bike, maintenance, or any other tips that I have in mind. So in lieu of hitting the benchmark of 25,000 subscribers, I decided to do a grind that is only a fourth or 25% of the pegs on my bike, and that's going to be the Ice Pick Grind. So for today's How to Tuesday, we're going to be ice picking the Sabroso street rail, as you can see here, and I'm going to give you guys all the ins and outs and everything you need to know so that you can go and get those ice picks out at home. So let's get to it, guys. Alright, so the things you'll need. One peg, honestly, but you know, if you have 2, 3, or 4, that actually helps, because when you don't pull the ice pick, it'll drop down to a double peg or a cricket grind if you're in a really weird position. Another thing you'll need is a rail or a ledge. I recommend learning it on a rail because the rounded aspect of the rail allows you to lean both sideways and back and forth. When you're on a ledge, or the surface of the ledge will actually only allow the peg to move very slightly, and it won't let you lean left or right, just only back and forth. So that's why I've chosen to do it on a rail today. Another thing you'll need is wax. I got my Merit wax, and I'm going to apply some to the rail now. The reason you're going to want a thin layer of wax on the rail, or any surface you're grinding on, is that you don't want any drag while you're grinding. As you can see, the wax isn't exactly going on very smoothly yet, so that means that the rail is pretty dry. So you want to apply a little thin coat, not just on the top, but also on the sides and on the uprights. And what that'll do is that'll make it so that your tire doesn't actually scrape on the sides and restrict you from grinding very smoothly. So don't forget to put it on the sides and on the uprights. Again, shout out to Sabroso for sending me this grind rail. It's so fun and it's so convenient to just have it in my driveway. Alright, so it looks pretty good, and we're ready to start learning them ice picks. Alright, so as is customary to most of my how-tos, I like to start you guys off with some prerequisites. In order to have ice picks pretty dialed, you're going to need to learn manuals, and you're going to need to learn double pegs. I also recommend feebles because that'll help you get in more of an upright position. A double peg is pretty flat, a feeble is in between, and an ice pick is basically the position where you're going to be leaning back the furthest. So yeah, double pegs, manuals, and feebles. When it comes to manuals, you don't really need to be able to manual a couple of blocks or anything like that, but you'll need to have the basic fundamentals of the manual down, so pumping, leaning back, and then being able to save it, because a lot of times on an ice pick you might catch an edge or something will bind and it'll kind of start slamming you forward, so you want to be able to fight through that and push through it with your legs. Alright, so for starters, I recommend that you guys learn stalls first. So for those of you guys that don't know, a stall is basically the opposite of a grind. When you're grinding, you're moving forward or backwards and you're actually sliding on a surface. On a stall, you're actually holding it in place. So it's a good idea to start learning this way because it's less dangerous. And actually, anytime you're going slower and anything that requires a balance point, it's actually harder because you have to fight gravity more. As opposed to moving forward or backwards, you're using momentum, and that actually helps you carry through with your speed and keeping the position of whatever grind or manual you're in. So I'm going to demonstrate a few stalls. As you can see, I'm going to approach the rail perpendicular to it. So I'm not going to be riding parallel to it, and I'm going to kind of 90 onto the rail. And that'll get me in a position where I can kind of balance it out and kind of take a feel for it. Learning stalls will also help you with other things, mainly backward grinds, because you're already getting the concept of spinning onto a grind. So this is actually pretty beneficial for you guys in the long run as well. So once you get a couple stalls in and you're figuring out how to balance the ice pick, then you're ready to move forward and start grinding. Okay, so now that we've gotten a few stalls out of the way, let's move over to grinding. So you're going to want to approach the rail parallel to it, and usually you want to be about a foot, maybe at the most a foot and a half away from the rail. And then you're going to want to initially do a couple double pegs just where you lean back a little bit, and you're going to want to land where your back peg touches first and then your front peg's going to kind of slam down. Once you get that concept, then the next thing is to actually try and position the actual ice pick, and you're going to want to hop and lean back just like a manual. And then once you're hopping and leaning back, you're going to want to use your feet to kind of stab the rail. So that means you're going to push down onto it and extend your legs. So once your legs are not fully extended, you want to keep them anywhere from 85 to 90% extended. You don't want to have them completely penciled because that's what's going to help you balance. So when your legs are fully locked out, you have no more balance point. But when they're kind of bent, you can either extend or bend them more depending on if you're dropping or looping out on the ice. All right, so let's do a couple more ice pick attempts, and then as we're going along, I'll kind of explain some of the things that might cause you to loop out or drop the ice pick or just not be centered enough or whatnot. So I'm left foot forward, so that means that I'm going to be grinding on the left side. The reason for that is that you want your back foot, which is my right foot, to be able to push the back end onto the rail. If you're goofy footed, that means that you're going to be grinding with your back foot pulling towards the rail, and when you're grinding, your back foot is actually going to be resting right above the rail. There's no problem with that, it's just a little different. So when I have to do them switch, which I'll demonstrate a couple here, you'll see the little difference of my balance point. But the only reason you'll see a difference is because that's not my normal side. Once you're really good at it, and if you are goofy footed, that'll be your normal side. And when you go to learn it switch, you'll notice that it's actually easier for you to learn than for us normal people to learn opposite. So you have an advantage. Also, you can spin out of the grind easier because usually if you're goofy footed like that, that means that you're gonna spin off the grind naturally, and it's easier than for myself when I do ice 180s, I have to do a switch spin. For starters, you're gonna wanna learn to just at least ice pick a small portion of the rail. So you can kind of go towards the very end. I would say somewhere about the last third or the last quarter of the rail, and kind of just do the ice pick there. That way you don't have to battle the grind very far, and you're going kind of slow, so there's very little repercussion. Once you have grinding the last little part of the rail pretty good, then you can move on to trying to tackle half the rail, 3/4 of the rail, and then the whole thing. As you can see from these takes, I did a couple of grinds on the very edge, both on my left side and on my right side. Then once I got comfortable, I started grinding the majority of the rail. So for your first few grinds, you're gonna wanna do a double peg that's kind of dramatic, and you're gonna wanna like kind of slam down the back end first. Then after that, you're gonna start trying to like extend it further and further until you're in the full upright position. All right, so the really good thing about the ice pick is that it's pretty straightforward and simple. You're balancing the majority of your bike and your weight on the back peg, and all you really have to do is use a little bit of speed, confidence, and momentum, and that'll carry you through the grind. So I'm just gonna show you guys a couple more ice picks, and I'm gonna give you guys a couple more troubleshooting tips. Number one, if you're looping out a lot, that just means that your weight is way too far backwards. Try to keep it more centered. Don't lean too far back, and don't like I said, lock your knees or fully pull your arms back, because that'll cause you to loop out constantly. If you're always dropping it, that means you're still in the forward position. You have to lean back a little further, or maybe squat down a little more. Insert some more squat footage. I know you guys like that.
Push your butt out. Come down as much as you can and back up. So you're gonna push your butt to the back and keep your weight on your heels.
Another problem that people have is that they lean too far into the grind. So that means that you're actually leaning up and over on the rail, and you're probably either falling over or you're not leaning far enough and you're kind of like just bouncing off the rail. So again, centered in every aspect of the way. Centered latitudinally and longitudinally. So on the x-axis and on the y-axis. And lastly, if you're struggling because you're tapping at the very end, so that means that your ice pick is dropping down to a double peg at the very end, just push through. What that means is that you're gonna lean back slightly bit more, and then you're gonna use your legs to kind of like extend and push through the grind. And that's actually how you get off the grind. You kind of just like push right through and you drop off the rail. And I think that's about it. Like I said, this grind is really straightforward. There's a lot of things you can do with this grind. You can 180 out of it, both hard and easy. You can do bar spins. I mean, if you're crazy, you can do tail whips, both in and out of the grind, crank flips. Turn downs. I mean, I've seen almost every variation in and out of an ice pick. So have fun with it. I mean, it's a really awesome trick. I really like doing really long ones. It's a super fun feeling, and I hope this tutorial was really useful for all of you guys. And if it was, you know what to do. Tag me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anything. Just tag me in your coolest ice pick grinds, any variations that you learned, and yeah, let me know what you guys thought. As always, I super appreciate you guys watching my videos. I really enjoy when you guys leave me a comment or like the video. and I definitely really like when you guys subscribe, so please subscribe. All right, that's gonna do it for me today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.